A lot of the times, tenants, when a place changes hands, they're going to be scared and apprehensive because they probably have a negative. They probably have some negative thoughts towards landlords themselves. And so I always just like to go and meet the tenants myself in person, introduce myself, and let them know that we now own the property. And if it comes to the point, like, so an example is I had a house where the lady was paying about $400 a month rent because her rent hadn't been raised in years, and I bought the property, and we needed to get her closer to 900 was market rent at the time for this property. So, it's more than double her rent, which is really substantial. And so what we did was I told her, hey, I bought the house. We have a mortgage payment of, and I showed her what our mortgage payment is. I said, so this is a mortgage payment. I've got to be able to afford to make the mortgage payment. Plus, because I now bought the property, taxes are higher and insurance has gone up over the years. And so this is where we are. And then I pull rent comps and I show them. I'm like, within a 1 mile radius, properties of the same level are renting for, and I'll show them the comps so that they see. Because if I raise their rent, they're going to have to go looking anyway. So I show them the comps in the area. I say, so market rent is about $900, and so I want to find a happy medium with that tenant. And so what I'll say is, I do need to try to get you closer to that number, but I'm okay if we don't get you all the way to that number. If you're willing to stay and continue to take care of the place as you've taken care of the place, I'd love for you to stay. And so I'll ask them, based on that information, what price do you think is fair and that you could afford to get to? Right? Because I want to hear their opinion, and I want them to feel like they had some say in it, so it doesn't feel like I'm just the evil landlord who came in and raised their rent. And typically, once you show them all that information, they'll give you a reasonable number. And if they can't give you a reasonable number, or they don't give you a reasonable number, there's probably a reason. Maybe they're on a fixed income. Maybe they truly can't afford to get you where you need to get to where they need to be. And I'm trying to establish that understanding with them. Because if it's a point where she says, look, I can only pay $500, I can't afford anything more than $500, then we don't need to be having a conversation about how we get you closer to market rents. We need to be having a conversation about how can I help you transition to something that's more affordable in a way that's not going to kill you financially. And so that's a different conversation. And so typically, and at that, and I knew what I would be willing to take. If she was going to be able to get to somewhere around between $775 and $825, I could live with that. I didn't need to get her all the way up to 900, because also if she moved out, then I have to spend more capital making improvements to the property because she's been there for so long. So that delays me having to spend that capital and gets me more money right now. So I was willing to get her to pay less. So she said what she could pay. We ended up somewhere around, I think we ended up right around $775. And then once we established that, I said, great. Now what if we can, over the next 6 months, get you up to that point on a tiered basis, so it's not just like punching you right in the stomach right away. You've got this big rent increase. And so we worked out a plan to where every month we raised her rent a little bit until we got to the point to where we needed to be. That made it a much easier pill to swallow for her and helped her get accustomed to that rent over time versus just having her have to change her entire lifestyle in 30 days.